Rob and Dave, a podcast dedicated to all things Horus Heresy in the Northwest region of America. Please stay tuned for the next transmission.
And we're back. This is Rob.
And this is Dave. How are you guys doing today?
I'm assuming they're doing well. That or extremely bored since they're listening to us.
You know, that's how we get our listeners. We know that nobody has a life that plays heresy, right?
Yeah. I mean, I've got a life sort of, like, I don't know, on Craigslist. Something.
Oh, let's see. There you go. I'm on Pinterest, so we're good.
Oh, awesome. See? So
what have you been up to the last couple weeks, sir?
A lot of, not a lot of different things. A lot of work shit, but we're not here to talk about that.
No, let's talk about our hobby instead.
Yeah. Mixed badge of stuff. I working on a Scutari commission, and then I've made some hodgepodge converted Raven Guard rapier turrets from the
Yeah, I've seen those. Those are pretty slick.
Yeah, I actually stole the idea from Richard down there.
Yeah.
But I like the idea of Raven Guard having, like, quote unquote fast track rapiers, like something, because they're not going to have some big bulky pain in the ass thing to, like, mobilize around and drop from an airship, right? Like, they're going to have something that they can break down and, like, remote control that thing and haul ass into where they need to go. Right.
Sure.
Like, I see.
I wouldn't have thought about that way. I just like the way they look. It's kind of low profile, but I was like, man, you got all technical. I'm like, huh? But yeah. I get it. Okay, you got the fluff.
Yeah, dude. Well, if you look at the gun casings too, really closely at them, I put a couple of handles on each one of them, and they're actually positioned in a way to where, like, you could see a Legionnaire walk up to the gun, grab the gun by both handles, pull a locking pin, and then slide rack it off the mount, and then sling it over his back and haul ass if he needs to get out of there. Because that's kind of what they do, right? They're kind of like guerrilla war fighters, right? So they like to get in position for their strike, and then as soon as they do what they need to do for their killing blow, they move. So they turned out pretty cool. I liked them.
Nice.
Yeah.
So are you doing a Scutari conversion for book 7, or are you just doing it for 40K?
40K. This is a commission. We have a new player in the area that got just the starter box, and I'm just painting it up for him in Ryza colors.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's been fun. It should be getting done a lot faster than what it's taken me, but I'm just, with the new job thing, dude, I'm too physically tired. Like, I tried painting a couple nights last week, and I'd pick up the brush, and my hand would start shaking really bad because my muscles are sore, and I was like, yeah, that ain't going to work.
That sucks.
Yeah. So, what have you been up to? What have you been working on?
Basically was getting things ready for the invitational that we had yesterday. Honestly, that's about it. So writing up table rules and a couple of scenarios. So
how'd the invitational turn out?
It was amazing, dude. We had 24 show up to play. We had 4 people drop, but we had people in line waiting, basically. So it was like still a full house. So
epic.
A lot of everybody was painted. I posted tons of pictures. A couple other guys did too. Like it was awesome. Met probably 10 or 15 people I honestly didn't know. I mean, I'd see them around or whatnot, but got to meet the Portland guys. They came up, Matt, Chris, and I want to say Dave, but it's not. It's Steve came up. So it was really cool. It was unique.
I saw the photo dump you were talking about, man. Those armies look gorgeous.
Yeah, I was impressed. I was pleasantly impressed. When I say that, because you never know what to expect when you do something like fully painted. Mm-hmm. Everybody's in a rush to get stuff done. I'm going to give a shout out to Matt down at Rose City Heresy. He worked his ass off on his blood, not his Blood Angels, his Alpha Legion guys, and they looked amazing. He didn't win Best Painted, but they were a very beautiful army. But So I just want to give him a shout out to that his efforts were not in vain on those models.
Yeah, Matt, you did a solid job, man. But we still couldn't figure out who Alfarius was.
They're all the same. That being said, though, we had one from the 3 guys from out of state. We had a couple from the Tri-Cities area show up.
Epic.
Pretty near, I think 10 or 12 from Seattle proper. It was nice. A couple guys from Puyallup area who've never been up to our group before and have joined us since then. It's nice. The community is really starting to grow in this area. So
that
awesome.
Being
said, it was really nice. Everybody was in a good mood. I think they didn't. The funny part is when you walk into a tournament or any type of big game day, you don't know what to really expect per se. And I put out teasers on our Facebook group page. It's like, oh, this is an idea of what you'll see. They didn't know what to expect because it was so intricate. And I made it to where if you came just to ruffle stomp people, you weren't going to get very far with all the other stuff going around. Yep. So, and Richard did all the Zone Mortalis stuff.
That's epic. You guys had like 4 or 5 tables of Zone Mortalis?
We had 3 tables.
3. Okay.
Our next event's going to have 4, maybe 5. So, yeah, Zone Mortalis is a lot of fun. We ran 2 big games, so we played 3,000 points in Army, which is huge from all the podcasts I've been listening to, trying to kind of rack ideas over the last few weeks. I didn't realize that most people played maximum 2,500.
Yeah.
People in our area love big games, and so 3,000 points, it's not actually that hard to build up to.
No.
And I've been we had a couple guys that didn't have it, so the Zone Mortalis fills that niche really, really well. And also I allow 1,500 points per player if you want to just run a 3,000 point game. So you got it like a mini team. You're allowed pretty much at any event I run. So it's nice. It's so guys can play with their buddies who are new to the 30K scene as well.
I think the most telling part of the success of the Invitational wasn't just that everyone showed up painted and had a good time, but also the fact that you had a waiting list. Like that's pretty impressive in itself.
I was shocked. I honestly didn't expect it to be as popular as it was. I posted a couple comments a year ago when I started this. Games and Gizmos held our first event. I believe it was in June.
Mm-hmm.
And we had 10 people show up. Now, those 10 people were me and 9 others.
Gotcha.
So it was fun, and they're all my buddies, with a couple locals, and who since become buddies as well. Now it's to the point with December's event. We had a couple people. We had 23 or 24 show up in December for the big teams tournament. I hate to call it that. It was an event. It wasn't even a tournament. But we had 24, and I would say over half of those guys didn't show up to yesterday's event at all.
Wow! So all those people are new.
It's new faces.
That is awesome. That is really cool.
Yeah, So in that, to me, that's the great part of the community. It's a huge shout out to all you guys who have been supporting the community down here. Thank you so much for that. If you guys are event organizers who are hearing this and not in our area, I would highly recommend reaching out to your local gaming stores and getting them on board with you.
Mm-hmm.
It's happening. I've got 3 very good home bases for the community down here, and everybody knows it. So, in that respect, that's the best way to do it. You just get the store owners behind you. They're going to promote it to people that you're not going to be able to see every day, but also, they're backing you to run the events. They're providing the terrain. They're providing their time and tables. It's great.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a really win-win situation with everybody. I mean, you have to, if you look past the niceties of community organizing, for those stores that you're helping with, you're also giving them new customer traffic as well.
Oh hell yeah!
And even if that new customer traffic just buys a soda or water or whatever the store may provide, that's still helping them out. So everybody
Oh
wins.
yeah, definitely. So we had. See, I did Player's Choice for Best Painted. I didn't get involved in that. I didn't. I thought I was going to have to do a tiebreaker, and somebody didn't hand in their sheet. But then they give it to me. It's like, oh, thank God. I didn't want to make that decision. So we had a newer player named Charles. He won with his Thousand Suns.
Mm-hmm.
All Betrayal Cal set.
Really?
Or no. Yeah, it was box sets. It was nothing from Forge World. So that being said, to new players who listen to this, they're good models. Don't feel bad for saying, oh, they're not good enough. That's bull crap. So
yeah, no, really, really and truly, like I was talking to Josh Hunter with MJ's Cars and Games out in the Valley. We were talking last night about the Heresy, and I said, hey man, with Games Workshop doing what they did, I mean, we're at a point now with the Heresy where the only thing that you would want to buy from Forge World beyond things like transfer sheets and upgrade kits would be your specialty vehicle chassis like Sakarans, right?
yeah.
Or alternative Land Raiders like Spartans, or your special characters and flyers, right? Beyond that, everything you can get now for your staple Legion list is coming from plastic. Like there's really, yeah, it really does eradicate the need for having to go all resin with that.
Yeah, and that's kind of a big deal. I mean, I know Forge World's not hard to get, but you have to the free shipping is a wonderful perk, but we have to spend almost $400 to do that. That's a big chunk of change for a lot of people, including myself. So unless you get a bunch of guys together to do it and you just want one tank, patience is not the American way. So it makes it a little easier with the plastic.
Mm-hmm. Well, that and it's also good for people who are not as experienced in modeling as most. You have the benefit of plastic, which is that it's easier to work with than resin. So you have that as well going for you. So talking about your event, you're saying your winner was a Thousand Suns player. So how did the Inferno book impact your games and stuff? Like, would you say the fear mongering is accurate? I guess I'll put it like that because I'm sure anybody listening is going to want to know.
So let me explain the situation of the event before I go too much on this. Okay. The tables had moving scenarios. The players had secondary scenarios, and then they did a random scenario from the book all at once.
Okay.
That being said, so you got your deployment and a scenario from the book. Mm-hmm. The table element to deal with. Some of them do cause damage or would do something stupid like make your guys go insane and start killing themselves. Mm-hmm. And their secondary objectives, you have to focus on something, which is fine. It didn't really affect the gameplay in that respect. But so we had 4,000 Suns players and 1 Wolf player.
Okay.
So we had 2,000 Suns playing Zone Mortalis. 1 was playing Heavy Psychers, 1 was not. And maybe we only had 3 Suns. Well, for a fact, I know that the 1 3,000 point Suns list, he decked them out. They're all Psychers.
Gotcha.
And he lost his first game. And they didn't do any of the table rules, which pissed me off. I'm not going to lie. Because it was Ice Road Truckers. I wanted that table, and they all had tanks. I was pissed.
Oh, guys. Come on.
The table scared him. Now, mind you, it was one of the guys from Oregon and one of my local buddies. So I'm like, I called them big vaginas. So it is what it is. But I just laughed. I'm like, I did give them the option that they didn't have to do it. So they didn't. And I believe the second game he lost as well. I have the sheets around here somewhere because I was asking opinions about if the tables were too strong or whatnot. but I think it wasn't as. They're not scary. Let's see, played Salamanders first round, and I believe I don't remember who he played second round, but the player that played against him didn't say a thing. He's like, nah, whatever. So either he wasn't playing him right, or he went up against armies that knew how to handle him.
Yeah.
So, and I think it's more the second one because this gentleman, his name's Jared, very good player. So I'm gonna have to sit and talk with him a little bit more and see how he feels about the Thousand Suns in the actual combat. He's played them since day one, and he's super stoked to have these rules, and he's very good at rules. So, and he's got a lot of common sense.
Well,
so that's nice.
It's like I said on our last episode. The biggest flaw to the Thousand Suns is just the fact they're not point efficient. Like the only point efficient unit they have are the segment, but beyond that, every unit's at least 200 points. When your Praetors are 235 points, it's like Jesus. You're not going to have a huge army.
No, and that's kind of what reminds me of about the Custodes. He did make the comment you and I had talked about last time we recorded about taking a power or a force weapon over a power weapon, or like a power fist. He goes, "Why would you do that? The power fist is a guaranteed POW." It's like, and he's right. So there's some things that Thousand Suns players really have to look at before they start building their lists if they're newer to them. So, the Zone Mortalis guys were a little rougher. I'll tell you that. The guy with the Psyker powers were able to teleport around the board a little bit, so that made his getting from zone to zone a little easier.
Yeah.
And so we put him Space Wolves immediately. My buddy rode down with me, play Space Wolves. His first event he's ever been in. His wolves look beautiful, super stoked, and gets Raffle Stomp first round. So he did pretty good, but it wasn't all that. It was a rough game for him. Second game, he did really good, and he took Gorf. Oh, what's that named character? Comes in Burning Whisper box.
Gregor.
No, what's Gregor? He loves that model. He was running around like a champ, kicking everybody's ass. So the wolves in close combat are scary. It's so.
I think
it's like when he was able to catch them, they died. So.
Yeah, I think the wolves are on par with world eaters. They're just the loyalist version of world eaters, in my opinion.
Oh, dude, I think they're more like the loyalist version of the Night Raptors, the Night Lords, because. And I say that because they get the bonus attacks like the Night Lords do.
Right. Yep.
And bonus to hits and stuff. So it's more along because we were talking about the games on the way back from Issaquah and stuff, and he's reading. I'm like, God, that sounds just like the Night Raptors, and I'm like, that's my favorite unit of Night Lords for that reason. And like, then that's your basic troop. He goes, yep. I go, holy shit. So it's nice. So. So there's a yin to the yang, Once he was able to catch up to the Thousand Suns, they died hand over fist. That dude took out, I guess, like 5 or 6 sick Terminators by himself.
Oh my god!
He just walked right through them with the claws, and it was amazing. He goes, he had so much fun chasing shit around the board with this guy.
That is epic. And I have to ask too on the overall for the event. How did you? So you're talking about scores and stuff. How are you scoring the event? Like, how are you doing that? Just on victory points alone, or like?
Well, how I'm doing it. So this was a test run for this year's campaign throughout the year. So I have 6 games after this one, and so I tested out basic rules of how I wanted to see how they'd pan out and how playable they were. So what I'm doing is. I don't care how many points they win by on a scenario. It's who wins the table for that game. And what I do is I record the morning's winnings. And now, mind you, remember those secondary objective sheets that I gave everybody I was telling you about?
Yeah.
everybody has a different one. So I made sure that the 2 people had the same one. So out of 20 players, 3 people probably had the same sheet on the Loyalist and on the Traders. But they were different enough to where that I told them to keep it to themselves and try their best to get as many of these accomplished as possible, besides what you also need to do during the game. And so whoever won the table the first game, so won that table for the Traders or Loyalists, the next team that fought against each other on that table, let's say the Loyalists had won, the Loyalists get to pick the scenario and deployment.
Gotcha. Okay.
Because they've already secured that table, so they're set up and ready for battle. So, and then the other guy's the attacker. And at the end of the day, I tally up all the what I call resource points off that secondary objective sheet.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was playing a planet and a moon scenario for the entire game, for the entire event. And so the Loyalists actually had captured that planet and the weapons on it and would be used for the next event.
Oh, God.
Yeah. And it was fun. And the guys really liked it. And I'll tell you, Rob, I played the Sasquatch table.
Yeah, how'd the Sasses go?
Over. So I put Greg and Richard first on because they wanted a grudge match. Mechanicum versus Dark Mechanicum from LVO. They wanted a grudge match, so I said, go for it. We'll put you on a Squatch table. They had a blast. I think Richard killed a couple King Squatches and 3 or 4 units of Squatch squads.
Mm-hmm.
And same with Richard, or Greg, I mean. But Richard had to, they deployed Vanguard Strike, so they had to go through the woods to get to each other.
Gotcha.
So let me explain the Sasquatch table. Give me one moment to actually pull this up. This will actually freak people out. I posted this on Eye of Heresy, guys, just because for them. So here's the deal. Here's his King Squatch profile. Weapon skill 6, ballistic skill 0, strength 10, toughness 6, wounds 5, initiative 10, attacks 3, leadership 10, save 3++. Special rule always goes first in combat. He's fearless, has rage, hatred, and shred. And his weapon is Claws of the King. It's strength at user with AP 1.
Oh my God.
So no, that's scary enough. I didn't realize on a charge, Claws of the King, he's freaking got lightning claws. So he's got 5 attacks on a charge. It didn't dawn on me until after I ran into this when I played it myself. So this is what the Mechanicum's going up against.
Right.
For the King Squatch. The Squatch clan is 3 models at weapon skill 5, ballistic skill 0, strength 6, toughness 5, 2 wounds a pop, initiative 5, attacks 2, leadership 9, 3+, 5+. And they always go first on the initial assault because it's an automatic ambush.
Right.
And their weapons are a +1 AP3.
Okay.
So that's a profile of Sasquatches. Now that's scary shit, right?
Right.
But I figured, 3 attacks on a. Mind you, I didn't take into consideration the lightning claws that I actually put on there. I'm like, well, 3 guys dying. You shouldn't break and run. You should be able to handle this guy. Toughness 6. You just have to wound on 5s and 6s. Whatever, you can do it. Table profile and terrain. Forested and hilly terrain is fairly frequent, so about 30% coverage. Hills provide a 5+ cover. However, each model in this terrain must roll a d6, and on a 4 will take a wounded at AP4. Normal saves allowed upon entering and exiting.
Okay.
The trees, that's not so bad.
No.
The trees, however, provide a 4+ cover. When in the terrain, each model must roll a d6. On a 1 or a 6 is removed from play. No saves or lookout stirs allowed.
Oh, God.
No, this gets better. If a vehicle is there, 1 hull point is removed. This occurs when entering, exiting, and staying in the terrain.
Oh.
So you can't hide in there. So that's pretty rough, and I'm going to explain how badly this went for me. This table was against Dave horribly. Now, for the Sasquatches, if you're within 6 inches of trees, every unit is required to take a d6 roll.
Okay.
On a 3 or 4, the unit is immediately assaulted by a Squatch clan. On a 5 or a 6, the unit is assaulted immediately by King Squatch. So it's it's haphazard. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it don't. Now, if the Squatch unit is killed by the original assaulted unit, they become immune to being ambushed and are no longer need to roll a d6 with any range of trees, and do not fall victim to the terrain mishaps for the remainder of the game.
Basically, they got wise.
Yes, they killed the guys that are causing all these problems, and they can just the table's the table.
Okay.
That's not so bad.
No.
If a Squatch unit kills the initial unit, they will immediately assault the next closest vehicle or ground unit, and will continue on this path until killed.
Oh, God.
Now that sucks. So, remember the trees, right?
Right.
How many 6s have you ever rolled in your life?
You know, man, I've
At
had
one
some...
time. At one time. Out of 10 dice, how many 6s have you rolled?
I can't even give you a number on that, but let me guess you did it 10 times in a row.
No. My four guys went into the woods first. Out of 4, I rolled 3 6s.
Oh, God.
Or no, I'm sorry. I rolled 3 6s and a 1. Lost all 4. I have to consolidate my guys' next movement. So they're all in the woods. 6 guys remaining, 5 6s. No joke. I rolled 6 dice and 5 of them were 6s. And I'm like, well, that sucks. And I'm just like, I'm playing these other guys. Now, this is the second time we started. The first time we started, I was within 6 inches of the woods right off the bat as well, because where I had deployed.
Right.
And King Squatch popped out, killed my tactical unit, mostly. They freaked out, like, fuck this, we're out of here. Gets run down by a Squatch, who then jumps over to my jet bikes and kills them, one shot. And then jumps over across the table to the Death Guard player and starts slaughtering his army line. So, literally, 4 attacks later, a Leviathan stops him, barely. He makes an invul save, because otherwise he would have died to this Squatch. And this all happens before we even move. And the guy I'm playing is like, why don't we start over? So, it was like, yeah, I'm game for that. You won. It was just like, holy crap. But the guys that playing Mechanicum didn't bother them because they have high toughness and high strength. It's like, whatever.
Yeah,
so it
just slowed them down.
I really didn't think that through. So it's like, I think I'm going to dial that down just a little bit. But it was a lot of fun. We played full 4 rounds on that table, and Kurz killed 3 or 4 Squatch Kings. They couldn't get to. Kurz is just a brute, thank God. Otherwise, it took a Leviathan and a Spartan to stop the other 2. Or slow them down enough to where we can kill them. It was just like, holy crap. So, needless to say, the Loyalists won that table twice because of the Squatches.
No. I think the best way to say that is Sasquatch won that table.
They did bitterly. It was hilarious. So on the flip side of that, I had another table I called Dark Side of the Moon.
Okay.
Has a bright side, but not for you. And what it is, it's all blast markers. So what I do is I had a bunch of my flaming templates everywhere.
Okay.
Each marker causes a strength 6 AP dash melt to hit if you're within 4 inches of it. If you're within 2 markers, it takes a strength 8 AP 4 melt to hit. Or if you're within 3 markers, you models take a strength 10 AP 2 melt to hit. And all vehicles are hit on the side armor. Oh, it's brutal. And the flyers, if they're within these markers, they must roll a d3 and a scatter dice, and it goes up from there. So basically, even flyers are having to move around because of this rising so much is chasing them all around. So we named this one the Hell Table. So what it is it's a relic in the middle of this table that's causing all this. And mind you, there's a huge story behind it, yada yada. But I didn't actually tell everybody about it. If you read the paper, you would get some of the rules. But the relic, if you touch the base, if you're within base contact with it, it would cause the M table, the Zorn Mortalis table number 3, every model to take a strength 8 hit immediately.
Oh, wow.
It's like, it was amazing. However, that's even worse for the table people because it's just a big boom pulse. It's a strength 10 hit on every model on the actual table itself. No AP. It's just one strength. It's pretty much an auto wound.
Yeah, but you could blow a hole through vehicles with that.
Oh, yes. So everything will be ruined. I mean, that way it damages everything. So Knights and Marine alike are in just as much danger.
Oh, my
So
God.
that's why I did it. But all the units on the table are blinded for 1 round that are not in base contact with a relic.
It almost kind of sounds like
insane?
Yeah, it's like a blinding light.
Oh yeah, it was. That's what I made it for. It's the backstory of it. It's a mechanic. It was a mechanic on Forge Moon, and yeah. Long story short, it just went terribly wrong. And they wound up killing themselves on accident. So
okay, that sounds like a Magos. That sounds like them.
Yeah. So and basically, yeah, it's a things went from bad to worse, but the unit that was in base contact gains Rage and Furious Charge and preferred enemy independent characters. So
nice
for the remainder of the game. So it was like you may want to do it, you may not want to do it. And the 4 players I put on that table, so I put a Mechanicum army and a Salamander's army on it first round. And we had a beautiful Mechanicum army. He had basically everything you could think of. He wouldn't walk his Knights anywhere. His Knights stayed on the corner of the table because if he went too far, they'd just blow up. No questions asked.
Right.
However, the Salamander's guy had a Mastodon. He just run that thing through. He didn't give a crap. It's like, whatever.
You start blazing trail.
So hull points. I've got armored ceramite. I'm just going to go for it. He got to that relic with 3 Terminator units. And he did. He just was giggling the whole time. Both players were because they knew what was going to happen to the ZM table. It's just like instant boom, boom, boom. 3 strength 8 hits. What?
I bet the guys.
It's a brutal. Yeah. And then I put a Mechanicum and White Scar's army on it.
Okay.
I put Richard from Dark Mechanicum and also the White Scars player, he said it wasn't as bad as he thought it would be. So, which is good to hear because I was kind of worried. I'm like, I told him at lunch, we went and had lunch together, that I'm putting you on this table. I'm not doing it to punish you. I'm doing it to see how well your army does. He's like, okay, that's no problem. I'll do that. So.
Good. Well, at least it wasn't that bad.
He had a good time and stuff, and I think he actually won. So
nice.
Good. It was a fun event, but mind you, I told everybody in the morning during the announcements that they're basically my guinea pigs for the day. and only 2 people complained about board interactions.
And what was it entirely? Just that they were too strong, or just having them in general?
The problem is if I say anything on what their comments were, they know who I'm talking about.
Okay, fair enough.
I talked to them about it afterward. It was mainly some people like to play a straight game.
Oh, I got you. Yeah,
some people don't.
I can figure that.
So
yeah,
and I'm not. I love a lot of storylines, and I told them, well, I appreciate it. Chances are they're just gonna have to deal with it.
Yeah.
So, I may put them. Because at the events, most of the guys I know, and I'll ask them, hey, what do you want to kind of do today? If they feel up to playing some craziness or not. And if they don't, I put them on a fairly normal table. If not, just say, hey, don't worry about it. Just do it how you feel. So, and that keeps it simple. Let the guys play how they want. And they love it. It's like, and the interaction with the Zone Mortalis. So I think, so mind you, why the tables are crazy enough.
Right.
I mean, it's like you got the Zone Mortalis guys on top of it. If they're capturing objectives, it's dropping orbital strikes on us. So on game 2 for us and game 3 for them, it's like we were dealing with Sasquatches. I had 2 orbital strikes drop on Curse heads. So I had a buddy of mine playing Imperial Fist. He's like, "Remember when you shanked my Primarch?" I'm like, "Oh dear God!" So I was like, "This is gonna be bad." But
it's awesome though. It sounds like everybody had a good time, man. I like the narrative
yeah,
table ideas. I'm personally, I'm not too bold to go that way with it, but that is awesome that they turned out the way they did.
yeah, it was. I just, nothing ventured, nothing gained.
Yeah.
And I got a lot of good feedback as far as the scenarios go. I think there will be some that I will dial down a little bit. Sasquatch one being one of them, only because it killed so much so fast. It does take the fun out of the game. And the guy Damon I was playing, he was laughing. He goes, "It was all fun and games until he wound up coming over to my side."
Yeah,
it wasn't so
right.
funny.
Yeah.
So he goes, I'll have to admit that. And I just like, I appreciate that, So I'm gonna dial him back, King Squatch down a little bit. The 3-man units weren't so bad. The Squatch clan, normal tactical squad, you can kill them. It just takes a couple rounds.
Gotcha.
So, but
right
and
on,
I didn't
man.
expect them to land as hard as they did, as much as they did. So.
Well, I mean, you got King Squatch over there being a Primarch. My God.
Oh, and that's what everybody was saying. Like, oh my God, he's like a Primarch. I'm like, he kind of is, but kind of not. And you got, as long as you have an invul save, which like if you had attacked a Terminator unit, it wouldn't have been so bad.
Yeah.
When he ran into Curse, he was instantly stopped. Even he went first. Mind you, Curse took 5 hits from him.
Right.
And I think I rolled, because you still got a, yes, you got a wound, but you got to hit him.
Yep.
So I mean, Curse having a high weapon skill, the Squatch still needed like 3s to hit him, or 4s to hit him.
Yeah.
4s.
Yep, 4s.
So, and yeah, it's like, it's still dice. It's still a dice game, and Curse just ripped his ass apart because you get that instant death. The Squatch doesn't have that.
Right.
It's like you're removed from play if you fail. And he failed, so that's all that mattered. I just started rolling. That's where the 6s were beneficial.
the one time.
So yeah, it was kind of fun because I didn't expect to play. We had Greg had to leave halfway through the day for family thing, but so I got to play this in the afternoon, and it was fun. I wanted to play on Squatch Table myself, and I put the owner of the store against me, so we just had fun. So
perfect. That's epic.
It was, and it really was, and it reminded me why I like doing this stuff. It's like a giant role playing game, and I'm the dungeon master. It's like when I'm smiling, you should be scared. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's badass, man. I've actually got the artist trident coming up next weekend. I guess we can kind of talk about that since we're getting close to it.
Yeah.
Now I'm not going to release on here any of the missions because I want them to be kind of hidden until the day of the actual event. Just so that way no one tries to make lists that'll benefit from them. But
no little teaser.
Let's just say that we're fighting. So the event itself's over 3 planets. I've got the mission packets printing tonight. So, but they're all written up and ready. And the missions that we're playing are all coming from the black books, and they're actually going to not tell the tale, like give us a victor and who did what, but they're going to set up the phases of the first planetary assault in the Trident. So to give some background, Navalos is it's basically a dry dock. The main function of this planet was just a storage yard. Like it had its own promethium fields and its own munition stores to aid in resupply, but the whole point of it was to hold a lot of ships. The planet itself has it's very radioactive and it has a very high methane content in the atmosphere. So with that, it's actually really prone to firestorms. The radioactivity on the planet will create the metal basically in the dust. It's like a desert. It's like a desert planet. It's just a giant barren desert wasteland. Because I mean, between radiation and methane, nothing's really going to grow, right? So it's got a high mineral content. And essentially, when there's high storm formations that come through, like any planet would have, especially this one, because there's not as much oxygen as you would normally see on a planet, basically they can create a lot of kinetic energy, and that ignites the methane, right? And then basically imagine a hurricane made of fire, and that's what some of these weather formations are like. So the planet itself, it's the furthest one away from the solar system and the planetary cluster, the Trident. Typically, when expedition fleets were coming in, they'd go. They're coming out of the center of Sol, they'd have to come all the way out to the end of the Trident and then turn back around and basically get in like you would turn a lot of large vehicles in a fuel island. They'd all get in a line, right? And they'd line up and they'd go to the first planet, which is Navalos, and then they would dock. And then the other planets would then have their own functions. And I'm not going to release any info on those planets yet, but basically each planet has its own primary function, okay? So, anyways, it's this dry dock. It has no civilians on it. It's because it's a barren wasteland, but it does have a PDF force on there called the Navale Spears, and they're actually a PDF force that's supplied by the Forge World of Ryza. There's also 9 manifolds of Legio Cybernetica stationed on the planet as well, also supplemented from Ryza. So a lot of Ryza is kind of known for making plasma weaponry, so the PDF force is a lot of like plasma based executioner tanks and the like, right? Which I honestly, for ground assaults, and when you're talking about a high methane planet, when you're firing plasma, it just makes them that much more deadly. Right. So
awesome.
Yep, so it's a death world. High pressured atmosphere as well, so even in enviro suits, like for just standard humans, you can't go out in the atmosphere, because even though you could wear an enviro suit with a forced respirator to breathe, the high pressure that's in the atmosphere itself will actually cause like your eyes to burst, all their blood vessels and shit. So like all these the shipyard itself on the planet is separated by 4 different quadrants on the planet, basically symmetrical with the planet itself. So you've got 2 up on the northern hemisphere and 2 down in the southern hemisphere, and they're completely directly across from the adjacent one in the adjacent hemisphere. And the reason why it's built like that is because of the tram system and shit they have into the planet. So that way no one has to travel on the outside of the planet. They go through the planet instead. See what I'm saying? So when the Mechanicum is trying to refuel a fleet, right? Why waste the time and the logistics of trying to go around the planet when you can punch right through it to the next quadrant? Right, especially when you're talking.
So basically, you got that from Total Recall, didn't you?
Bits of it.
The new one.
Bits of it.
Fair enough.
Bits of it.
I like it.
A lot of stuff is influenced from it, but the whole point of it is when you're talking about an expeditionary fleet that's leaving the Sol system and going out to the Eastern Fringes, or coming back from a crusade in the Eastern Fringes and coming back home into Sol, right? You're gonna have a fleet that's gonna comprise of 20 to 65 vessels, and there's gonna be at least 8 battle barges in it, right? So they're going to need a lot of refueling. They're going to need a lot of like fitting up, and that's what the other planet's jobs are. But where are you going to put all these ships? Like, where are they going to go? They can't just float around everywhere, right? You got to dock everything up and do the exchange of arms and all that kind of stuff. And that's what Navalos is there for. So that's the planet itself. So the missions that we're going to be playing are coming from the Black Book, like I said, and they are going to set the framework for how the planetary assault's going to work. Mind you, the loyalists that are stationed here that have reinforced the PDF and the Legios are companies from the Ultramarines, the Dark Angels, and the Blood Angels that came from Imperium Secundus after they repelled the Night Lords and the Word Bearers back out of the Shadow Crusade. Rabute, Sanguinius, and Lionel basically had a war court about assets they needed to obtain. that they could get to. And with the help of the Pharos, they're able to get through some of the rune storm and see what was nearby the eastern fringes without actually being able to see Terra. And they thought, well, although Terra may be lost, we really need to secure the Artist Trident because it's so close to the eastern border of Macragge, or the western border of Macragge, eastern border of Sol. Because all that's going to do is just propel Horus's war fleets, whether they're going to be going to Terra or coming to us. All it's going to do is help his fleets. So we need to secure it. We need to secure it somehow. So basically, Rabute took
I like that.
Yeah, I mean, either way, whether Horus is coming or going, he's going to use that trident, right? So Rabute said, we have a lot of shattered legions here. Let's take the remnants of the shattered legions of what we can not dispose of, but relocate, that aren't really familiar with Macragg's society, because on a political sense, that's kind of creating some buffers there, right? Send them to the Trident with complements and companies from our 3 legions and reinforce it, okay? The only bad part of that strategy was that when they pushed back the Word Bearers and the Night Lords, Rabute was counting on, if they did assault the Artist Trident, that Horus is somewhere over near Terra. Because at this point, Imperium Secundus, they're assuming Terra has fallen. So they're assuming that Horus and his major fleet are on that other side of the Sol system, okay? So he's expecting that if there's going to be an assault, it's going to be the Word Bearers and the Night Lords and the World Eaters that they pushed out from the Shadow Crusade, and they're trying to ratify through Calth and all that, right? What he wasn't expecting was that when Lorgar left the Shadow Crusade as early as he did, he talked to Horus about the artists and his concerns about securing it, right? Since Macragge was kind of a failure. So he is going to reroute forces from the Word Bearers and complements of the World Eaters to go and attack the Artist Trident. But Horus is like, well, let's make sure you can get it for sure. So I'm going to give you Iron Warriors and Dark Mechanica, and we're going to back your fleet up. Because Horus knows that Rabute would have counted how many ships that they estimated had left Macragge.
It's true.
Horus knew that Rabute would at least make an estimated practical of what was going to be assaulting artists. So he's going to send in a much larger fleet than what they prepared for on these planets. So, first event, it's going to be the planetary assault. Traders are going to be hammering the hell out of this planet and making an assault on seizing these assets. Because once whoever can control this planet will also control the amount of orbital support that their legions are going to get for the oncoming engagements. So you have that, and whoever.
It's going to be really nice.
Thanks. Yeah, it's the way that it's mapped out. I mean, it's and the narrative of it. I have different outcomes written out for who may win or if there's a stalemate, and whoever wins this planet, whoever faction dominates this planet, they're going to have a boon for the next event, which I will announce at the end of this event. That's gonna benefit that this planet's gonna give them. And knowing the backstory of the planet itself and why they're trying to take it, you can kind of start making guesses on what that boon's gonna be. And that's all I'm gonna say on that one.
Almost want to go up there and play you.
Well, why don't you? It's only Saturday, dude.
I know, right?
It's only Saturday. You can get on an airplane. But
yeah.
There is a mission packet and the scoring for it too. We're not going to have Best General. We're going to have Wooden Spoon. And I'm going to have everybody track their victory points and their packets that they're going to get. And they're just going to write it on the actual mission page on how many victory points they secured that game. And whoever has the lowest cumulative victory points will be getting the Wooden Spoon, who actually has the highest prize support. And then that's coming from Tier 1 cards and games. And then the other prize position that we're going to hold too is going to be the Best in Show, which that one's going to be a community vote from everybody that's attending. And they're all just going to vote on armies. It's not single model, and it's not necessarily best painted. It's just overall appearance for an army that showed up. So if you presented your army well, thematic, painting, display, whichever it may be, which is completely up to the community, then that's the person that's going to win that. So, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Damn.
Yep, so that's the plan.
So we got some really amazing stuff going on this year for both of our groups.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to say, hell yeah.
Hoorah. Pushing forward.
That's right. And damn. So anybody who's listening to this episode, you're like, feel overwhelmed yet? Don't. Just show up. You'll have a blast.
Yep. Our job is to do the overwhelming part. We got that part. You just show up, play, and write down numbers.
Exactly. You just make sure you record the numbers. We'll tell you the story on what those numbers actually mean.
Yep.
So.
Yep. And I will also say this too for anybody who's listening, in case they want to know before the event, how I do matchups is going to be essentially on a win-loss basis. It's not going to be on points. I'm not doing the best coast pairings thing. It's all going to be ran through me. And I'm going to do pairings based on the most thematic appeal. Because at this point in the heresy, the legions are going to always seize an advantage to budget out a grievance with a rival. So if you're an Imperial Fist player and you show up and there's Iron Warriors there, prepare to fight Iron Warriors. Everything's gonna.
Oh, you're that guy. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no, it's gonna be like that to the best of my ability, to where it's not brutal. But that, and you may get a surprise on how we're gonna do the first round and how that's gonna be set up. So
nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Usually, what I do is I ask anybody if they want to play anybody in a grudge match first round, or if they want anybody they want to play. And then I just start matching them up.
Mm-hmm.
But I try to ask them who their friends are, so I don't match them, because most guys play their buddies. So you may have that Imperial Fist and Iron Warriors guy. They may never see each other on that table because they play against each other all the time. I'm not going to do that to them.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I understand that. I mean, I'm open to all that kind of stuff. This is not a strict system, but
what? You're not strict?
Not on the system part.
I'm just playing. I'm playing.
But I get what you're saying. If you look at the guys with TFL, Zach and Josh De La Rosa, they posted on South Texas how they traveled all the way to the Adepticon just to end up playing each other.
See, and that annoyed the shit out of me. It's like, come on, man. No, it's thematic. Like, I play this dude every freaking week.
Well, it's one thing if it's just a friend and the organizer doesn't know, but come on, Josh and Zach have the same last name. You're telling me you couldn't tell that? Really? Come on.
People are, you would be shocked. Okay, so I'm going to tell you 3 poor people that I could not get their. Tim is one guy's name. I called him Ted, I think, since Las Vegas. He shows up today. He was still Ted in my head. Felt bad for that. So, I mean, yeah, it happens.
Yeah, but
I'm calling a guy named Matt Steve, and I'm like, I'm sorry, dude. I'm the worst person ever.
Yeah, but man, like if it was like a last name like Smith or Johnson, I could totally get that. But De La Rosa, that's not one that screams out as a very common last name. So what are the odds that the two guys have never met each other? That's just my personal gripe. Like, come on. You don't look over your parents.
Are you Gonzalez or Garcia?
Yeah, exactly. It's just kind of like, come on, man. As an organizer, you tell me you don't look at your pairings at all? Come on.
Yeah, I get it.
No, but the artist trident is going to be the whole point of it is a faction based. It's team based. It's not a single player. You're fighting for your faction. You want the loyalists to win. You want the traitors to win. That's what you're doing. You're trying to seize an asset for the greater of the good, right? So.
Oh yeah.
And when we get done with the first artist, I'm going to have a feedback box. I want people to let me know what their feedback is and what they thought of the event and what they would like to see in the second event. And if people come up with, we want team games, we want Zone Mortalis, we want apocalypse battles, we want whatever it may be, I'm totally open for that because there's plenty of room in the narrative to supplement it as well. So that's, yeah. I just, man, I'm all about the team stuff, dude. That's, like when we played that big team battle at LVO, I had so much freaking fun with that because it was everyone trying to coordinate to each other to like screw the next guy over. Like the singles were fun, but man, you don't get much of an encounter with a team building environment. I thought that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's why I do definitely do that myself. It's like every other event's usually a small team event, one way or the other. So it keeps it fun. It's like. Yeah, we're not competitive. It shows. That's why.
Yep. So, since you brought up competitive and all that jazz, I guess we can go there about the Adepticon news and shit and stuff that came out. You want to talk about that? Like the 8th edition rumors and stuff?
Uh, you can. I honestly, I watched the video like everybody else has, one of the drop pod that cracked me up.
Yeah.
Other than that, honestly, I haven't heard anything. I have a couple buddies there, and what they were posting was their games they were playing, so I haven't heard anything yet. And Battle Bunnies, I was looking on their group earlier, and not the only thing they're talking about is that the last resin Thunderhawk was sold, and that they're producing.
Yeah.
So,
and
there's a lot of rumors around that, but it's all speculation.
Well, I mean, I'll put it like this: if it was 2.5 years ago and we were talking about them making a plastic Thunderhawk, I would say there's no way in hell they're doing that. But with what Games Workshop's doing nowadays, I think anything's open. I'm open to anything, really, at this point.
Well, what would you think about just redesigning it, coming out with a different Thunderhawk? That could be a very big possibility.
Yeah, and I'd be totally okay with that as well. I kind of think the Thunderhawk needs it, especially when you look at the Stormbird. It's kind of like, yeah, that Thunderhawk shows its age now. Like it's a little dated.
It's a beast.
Yeah, well, it's just, we'll see how that one turns out. I mean, the plastic part, I'm not sure, but I will say this, so Games Workshop's been changing a lot of things, and they are a lot of things, but if there's one thing they don't do is make false rumors. So,
You're right, but are they the ones doing this rumor?
Well, okay, I'll put it like this: if it was a false rumor, I wouldn't see them endorsing it with a tongue-in-cheek joke like that.
That's true.
I just can't see them doing that, right? Like even
and they wouldn't have made such a big deal out of the last resin model being produced and sold.
Exactly. I just wouldn't. They wouldn't get behind that if there wasn't something going on. Like the fact that they said plastic Thunderhawk on a box is kind of like, yeah, that could be seen as tongue in cheek. That's almost a little too literal for their humor. So we'll see how that one turns out. Remember, it's died down since Magnus got released, but they did also in that video talk about Plastic Sisters battle too. So we'll see if that happens. But
I wouldn't be surprised on that. That's true.
Yeah.
It could have been. No, they said Plastic Sisters. They never specified what sisters, and we got Plastic Sisters of Silence.
Didn't Burning of Prospero though come out before that video came out?
Don't know.
I think it came out the same time as Magnus did. Yeah, who knows? Whatever. I'm not even worried about it. But the 8th edition.
I'm trying to think. Well, see, okay, Magnus was released in that video.
Yeah.
In December, right?
Well, it was leaked in that video. Yeah. Burning Prospero came out in November.
Yes, so Burning was out. You're right. Okay. Well, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, whatever.
It's going to be amazing.
But the 8th edition part, though, so it's not a rumor, it's confirmed. They said it's coming out in June. They did say that. 8th edition's coming out in June.
Oh, is it coming out in June?
It's coming out in June. They said that in their seminar. So that came from Games Workshop in their seminar. So yeah, June it is. We just don't know when.
Okay.
There's been what's been talked about online apparently came from the seminar they did on Wednesday night, but I haven't seen a video for it, so I'm not going to even say that it's true. But apparently they're saying that movement stats are back for individual units. There's not going to be a staple movement for a type of unit.
What?
So I've heard, and that the morale is going to be a Battle Shock-esque kind of style. So instead of units falling back and falling away and all these crazy leadership stuff, instead it's going to be you lost combat by this much, you lose that many more models. And that units that charge, the charging unit will get to strike first regardless of initiative, which opens up a whole lot of like, well, what about power fists and stuff, right? Like, how is that going to work?
That's going to be interesting.
Uh-huh. So the reason why I bring that up and on those rumors, I mean, the 40K and what 40K does is a different story, but we are unfortunately tethered to the outcome of 40K, so that kind of brings some awareness, right? And it makes me curious because Inferno was written with the intent of 8th edition in mind. Alan Bly came out and said that. So we know that Inferno may not have leaks of 8th edition, but it was written with the preparation of 8th edition, and the only thing that I've seen so far that might lean not ahead towards it is the reference of panic tests. But I don't know how far you can throw that rock because we also know that Inferno's got a good amount of misprints on it. So I don't know if that was a misprint as well. So, I mean, with 8th coming out, I don't know about you, Dave, and I know you don't. This is the first time you've heard this stuff, but I've got a weird vibe that when the new 40K rules come out, they're going to either have 3 different kinds of 40K rules, because they did talk about how 40K is going to have like a narrative, a match, and like a unbound kind of play style. So like if you want to play 40K, like whatever happens, like there's this style. If you want to play it competitively, this style, or if you want to do a narrative, this style, like what they did with Age of Sigmar. So I don't know if those 3 different rule sets are going to be wildly different, and then Heresy's just going to say follow this particular rule set for the expansion, or if Forge World's going to come out and say, hey, we're going to get in front of this and say, although 8th edition's out, Horus Heresy stands on its own now.
I can see that.
I could easily see Games Workshop making Horus Heresy be their 3rd game line and it have its own rule book. I could see that too. Like they do not have a 3rd game line. They always used to have 40K fantasy and then Lord of the Rings, Age of Sigmar, and before, or not Age of Sigmar, Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, and then before that it was specialty games like Necromunda and stuff. Like we saw Necromunda and all that stuff drop when Lord of the Rings started picking up and getting speed, right? So they've always had that 3rd line, and yeah, they've got all these box board games coming out, but with the support of all these plastic heresy units that they're trying to make hosh posh rules for 40K, so it's like, hey, you can use them for both, kind of a thing. It's pretty apparent that they're aware that people are buying them for heresy; they're not buying them for 40K. So makes me think that they might turn heresy into a staple third game for Games Workshop. That's.
Well, they're bringing back out, like I said, Necromunda and something else. Oh, well, I don't remember off the top of my head. So there's so much stuff up in the air right now. It's like I'm kind of holding my breath. I want to talk about it, but it's like I don't want to start speculating too much because I don't want to get people up in arms.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, well, okay. So, and I agree with you, and I don't want to create a panic, but I am going to say this though. For anybody that says they're going to do it the 40K and the rules like they did to Age of Sigmar, let's make something completely clear. Age of Sigmar was made the way it was made after Fantasy because Fantasy was failing them. Yeah. So they had to do something extremely radical and something extremely risky to try to save that product line to make it profitable. But they also knew that if it was to flunk, it wouldn't really hurt their bottom line. They would feel a little bit of a loss, but it wouldn't take them out of business. Horus Heresy and Warhammer 40K is a huge moneymaker for both Games Workshop and Forge World, and they know the two are tied together. So with knowing that, they are not going to jeopardize their pocketbook over the sake of doing something crazy new and fun that they think. They're going to be very, very careful in what they do with this next.
Yeah.
Because if they do know, and it may not seem like they know, but these people are intelligent, that if they do something wrong with 40K, it's going to affect Forge World as well, because Forge World's main staple income now is Horus Heresy line. So they know that if they do something wrong there, it's going to affect them as well. There's 2 parties in this boat, so I would not panic that something crazy is going to come out of this, and it's going to change the game, and you got to burn your models and stuff. Do not even go that route, because that's not going to happen.
No, and they've said that pretty much straight up. And with the Adepticon, if what you're saying is true about the individual troop movement and all that, good. It's going to be, it's going to make it more even thematic and more interesting on the table.
Yeah, and like if there's
know your rules.
Yep. And the thing is too is like, I think if they did that, you benefit from 2 things. One, you benefit from a simplified rule set, which I think just the 40K rules in general just need. They need to be simplified. Like we've gotten too convoluted, and it's getting to be a pain in the ass to play a game. But What it also does too is it allows you to just only have to know how to play your army. You don't have to know how everybody else's army plays to play the game, right? So there's always that part of it that I'm really a big fan of because nobody likes having to do. I mean, some people do. I'm not gonna say nobody, but for me at least, I really don't like the fact that I have to read up on what everybody else's units can do and stuff. Just so when we're playing a game, I know what they're doing.
I refuse.
Yeah.
I am the worst opponent in the world you could ever go up against. You probably would be able to cheat against me. Now, if it sounds too outrageous, I'll be like, really?
Yeah.
Let me see that rule. But otherwise, it's like I always tell people, don't expect me to know your rules. Hell, I can barely remember mine. Yeah. So it's like it becomes a big joke.
That's like when I played 40K when the Cult Mechanicus thing first came out and I did the War Convocation formation. I told everybody that I played against, I go, just so you know, it's going to sound like I'm making shit up and I'm cheating. I go, so at any point in time, it doesn't sound right, let me know. I've got all the books right here. So, yeah, but we'll see what the outcome is.
Yeah, I'm hoping. I'm optimistic, and I loved seventh. I love Seventh Edition. I liked it when it first came out.
Yeah.
With all the odd, weird rules, it's like they made everybody a little overpowered halfway through book 7.
Yeah.
Like all the newer codexes coming out.
Yeah.
It kind of got a little weird, but for me, now mind you, I quit playing it 2 years ago, so it's like I just didn't keep up on it. Had I kept up on it, I'd probably been just fine. But a lot of people are really looking forward to a change. I've even talking to the competitive community when I was at LBO. There's a lot of them are like, I don't like playing like this. I hate playing with this just to win, and I appreciate hearing that. It's like, okay.
Well, it's one thing to win because of your own strategies and approach to warfare on the table. It's another thing to win because you brought what makes the most sense because it's an auto take. Because the rules are written in such a way to where everything else is null and void. And I think for me, like one of the biggest things that got me into Heresy was it was a break from the competitive scene and going to a more lax environment with rule sets that supported such. But also that when I wrote a list, it felt like the old days of 4th and 5th where you could literally sit down and every unit in the codex had a good job and you could really come up with some cool ideas, right? Like there was no auto takes. Now, with us, like Legions, like, yeah, sure, the Legion will steer you towards wanting to take this unit over that, but it's not an auto take. It's not like 40K where it's like, so you're telling me I buy this handful of models and I get all these special rules with no flaws because I own it. So why would I buy anything else or run with anything else? So that's why I liked Heresy. Everything had its place and everything had its job, and your Legion may have been better off doing this more than the next guy, but that doesn't mean you have to take it because the rules benefit it, but they're not breaking.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'll have to see how that outcome is, really, for 8th. But,
yeah, I'm curious. I don't know, man. It's just I'm kind of nervous about it because it's like the community is doing so well right now.
I know, right?
That's I'm not gonna lie in that respect.
That's the one draw to it. It's like, yeah, it could go really well, but what if it goes really bad? Like,
well, I've just spent $2,000. We're sticking with 7th edition, people.
Oh yeah, no, that's my revert. That's the cool thing though. If you think about it, like Heresy is definitely growing in popularity, but it's still a specialties game. You could very easily just go, nah, those rules suck. We're just gonna stick with the ones we've been using, and everyone would agree with you on it, because everyone's mutually invested.
That's exactly it. About that a little bit, but most people I think are just hoping for the best.
Yeah, I got faith. If I'll put it like this, if the ship was being captained by Tom Kirby, I would be very, very, very nervous. But the fact that it's not means that I think we'll be just fine. We just gotta be patient.
Oh yeah, and we are kind of, sort of, maybe.
You know what I see, honestly? Like if you like watching Games Workshop's like their growth and their attitude and what they've done in the last year. So, like for example, yesterday, did you see they released a website now for merchandise like T-shirts and stuff?
I heard about it. I haven't actually looked at it.
Yeah, they actually have a merchandise site now. Like they're actually supporting making T-shirts, and I've looked at them, and some of them are pretty freaking cool. Um, but what I've noticed in the last year, so this new CEO guy bought or didn't buy, but he got into the CEO chair what, a year and a half ago, and ever since then we're seeing all these changes in like some of them are radical changes like the AOS thing and stuff, but we're also seeing these really subtle changes that people gamers being possessive as we are, we just credit to ourselves of, oh, look, they finally have things like a Facebook account and they have Facebook groups and they have apps now and they're making more games, video games and stuff, and they're finally listening to us. But for me, in my history, from what I see, they're actually going out and laying down a lot of groundwork to support their next big phase. Like everything you do when you're talking about shareholders, you have to have a year plan of what you plan on doing for either growth or reduction. Everything they've done in the last 8 months has been a pattern of growth. Everything has, which tells me that there's a plan for next year to be a lot bigger. So you don't just go and just do something huge like open a whole new line and all this kind of stuff without first laying down all your groundwork to support it, right? So the fact that they've gone out to make all these like Facebook groups, and you got Warhammer TV now, you got a Stitch account, you've got a YouTube account, you got a Swag account, you've got the guys being a lot more interactive and community events like LVO and Adepticon. They're going out and they're laying down groundwork now, right? Like the fact that they're working with people like Frontline Gaming and some of the East Coast podcasts and stuff, and they're working with them, tells me that they're laying out groundwork. They're building the foundation for what they're about to expand upon and make this house a lot bigger. So I've got a feeling that the next year is going to be a crazy year, but it's going to be a cool year. I think that's my hypothesis on that. So nobody panic.
Fair enough. So we got plastic Thunderhawks. We've got supposed Dreadnought drop pods coming.
God, if only Dreadclaws were plastic. Could you imagine how many they'd sell?
It'd be so much easier to put together.
Oh my God, dude! Like, just make the dang thing plastic.
Yeah, I think I'm down to one Dreadclaw now for my Night Lords. I think I've gotten rid of it. I sold one. I repainted it for World Eaters and traded it for a Spartan. And then I got another one. I think I traded it for a Spartan as well. So, actually, I did. So, yeah.
I've actually...
I did. It's like, whatever. I'd rather... My Night Lords, they can deal with it.
a lot of the guys around here about Dreadclaws, like, have heard the horror stories of building them and like how expensive they are and stuff. And I told them, I was like, here's the link to how you can convert a normal drop pod. Just do this route. It's just a drop pod, but you're gonna save yourself so much time and money. Like if you want to go for the aesthetic, that's cool. But I'm just saying, like, if you want to bring this kind of drop pod in as a Dreadclaw, I'm totally okay with that.
I don't mind some conversions as long as it looks like they tried.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like the way the Dreadclaw looks, but yeah, it's a bitch.
Oh yeah,
it really is.
Yeah, you got to be a very advanced hobbyist to work with that kit. It's kind of like the Storm Eagle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Storm Eagle wasn't so bad. I mean, there are some parts in it, I'm not going to lie, suck. I've got a Fire Raptor I've got to put together here in the next couple weeks. That shouldn't be too bad either, but...
In theory.
It's the Storm Eagle. Okay, the quarter inch off on a door. Why?
I know.
Why is the door a quarter inch too long? What the hell? And it's not just me. I thought it was me. I'm like, how in the hell did I put this together wrong? And it's not all kits. A buddy of mine got a kit. I got mine after his. His door fit just fine. So I think somebody's playing a joke on the rest of us. I really do. Just so you all know.
I blame interns.
Yeah.
That's why I blame.
Oh, and I had a buddy actually show up. He was telling me yesterday I think they are a lot of new people at Forge World right now because he got a package with he bought 3 jet bikes.
Yep.
And all of them missing the nose.
Oh God.
Like your jet bike basically comes in 5 parts, but the main body of the jet bike itself did not show up.
Okay.
He got everything else.
Funny story
but
on
not
that.
the main body.
Funny story on that. One of the guys in our community bought a Fire Raptor. Showed up in the mail, 3 Fire Raptor kits.
Holy crap!
Yeah. Like one of them was really badly warped. Like the whole fuselage was offset by like a 16th of an inch. But still, 3 Fire Raptors when he ordered one.
Did he contact Forge World?
Yep, and they said keep it.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard stuff like that. It's like, yeah, I'm really impressed with Forge World's customer service. I have nothing to bitch about that. I mean,
no, not at all. No, but my point on that is definitely they've got some new people.
Yeah. I mean, like, really? I mean, I would have been ecstatic. I love that. Would have just filled out my Night Lord list right there. Wait, I've already got 10 million of them, but
you can never have too many.
I really want to do the 3 Fire Raptors, dude. I may someday.
Whatever, whack player.
On a hobby, huh?
You're a whack player, whatever.
I am. I spam. I love spam armies. So my Death Guard is all going to be spam. My sisters are going to be spam. It's like, and I'm only 5 models away from having all the sisters I need.
Mm-hmm.
80 of them. I'm at 80 right now.
You got a problem.
I do.
I'm just impressed that your wife lets you have so many women in your life.
She says it's like it's not the quantity, it's the quality.
So. I'll say this. I'm not going to say that I don't like spam lists because I kind of do the same thing too. But whenever I build the list, I think of the overall function. I don't just go, that unit's good, now let's multiply that by X amount. But I think of overall function and support, and that's how I end up spamming things like drop pods and stuff like that. Because I go, if I'm in X situation, because I do think of it like this, if I'm in X situation, how do I respond to that scenario? I'm going to need this and that and have this to support it. Okay, cool. What happens if I go against multiples of that, right? Or something like that. So
yes.
Yeah.
And I get it. And now, mind you, when I say spam list, I try to stay true to the Legion. My Night Lords, I'm very anti-infantry.
Mm-hmm.
If you ever play me, you will find that if you have a Spartan, I'm not going to hurt you.
Right.
Unless I happen to have my Terminator unit that I use that I've had forever. Every now and then I'll throw them in with a Storm Eagle on the list. And most of the time, my Storm Eagle doesn't show up till turn 4 anyway, so you're not really in any trouble. Mm-hmm. But I love anti-infantry with my Night Lord, so I run a Fire Raptor anyway. Mm-hmm. I would like to run 2 more, just because I think it would be amazing with Night Raptors running around and Fire Raptors. I mean, come on, how cool is that?
Yeah.
So, but it's, I haven't done it yet. I probably won't down the road. I've got a Death Guard list. I just got a hold of 20 more Mark 3s.
Mm-hmm.
I traded some Mark 2s away, or Mark 2s, Mark 4s for some Mark 3s. So I'm running 80 tactical Death Guard, and I think I'm running 9 Thud guns or quad mortars.
Mm-hmm.
All phosphex, and just to sit in the back corners, and I'm just going to march Marines forward. Now, it's going to suck the balls if I run into any armor, but it'll look cool.
Yeah, and that the Phosphex.
That's what Mortarian's for, though.
I've never. Phosphex is brutal, but it's like any other thing in the Heresy. There's easy ways to work around it. Phosphex is terrible until you have rhinos in front of it. Like it can't hurt the rhinos. All it can do is slow them down.
Yeah, and that's like I got to figure out what to do with that. It's like because I want to do rapier batteries and just march troops forward. So I probably will do a couple las cannon units, and we'll see. I've got to be able to handle a little bit.
One of our players is a Death Guard guy, and we were talking about his list, and he was talking about chem munitions, and we were going back and forth about how to best use chem munitions, and I was like, what do you put on your sergeants? You know, I was like, do you give them combi flamers at all? Because that's a good chance to use chem munitions. But then we started talking further, and I was like, wait a minute. What if you did veterans, right, and give them standard flamers, put them in a rhino with a heavy flamer, give them all chem munitions, and then
So you got poisonous flame.
right, but the snipers you take marksments and other rending with shred, right, and then you buy a Promethean pipe relay for your fortification, and then you're spewing sewage all over the place.
Oh, jeez.
I mean, it's not game breaking, but it is freaking cool to think about.
It is. I'm just like, what? Now you just ruined it for me. Thanks.
What?
No,
what?
I'm playing with you.
Just imagine that's a giant sewer line.
I know. It's hilarious. Can you use that in 30K?
Yeah. You can use standard fortifications.
Huh.
Mm-hmm.
I'm surprised nobody's done that yet, because I was talking to somebody about that. I'm like, why don't you try that? And they're like, oh, you can't use it. I'm like, you sure about that? So I leave that up to people, and they probably honestly felt they couldn't. So if you can, what the hell?
Yeah, no, seriously, the fortifications, when they say you can take a fortification, fortifications come from the 40K rulebook and or any expansions that follow from it. And since Horus Heresy is just an expansion from 40K, you can use fortifications from it. Oh yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, that's why people use sky shields and stuff.
Yeah. So what I was actually thinking, besides the quad mortars, is actually taking a couple of Achilles as well.
Ooh.
Because they have the thud guns. That's right. That'd be my anti-armor.
Can those thud guns take? It's just thud guns, right? Like they're not like quad mortars.
No, they're quad mortars. I call them thud guns, but yeah, they're quad mortars.
Oh, so you can give them phosphex as well.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's rough, actually. That's pretty cool.
Well, so you got 9 of those sitting in the back and just dropping them everywhere. Toss the Achilles in there. Mortarion with his Death Shroud that's teleporting everywhere. And then 80 Marines just marching forward.
Very thematic.
It would be. I have a lot of people pissed off at me. Just tell me when you're done how many wounds I need to take.
Yeah. yeah. No, that's epic. I'm actually.
It is. I don't know if I'll actually do it. I'm gonna build the army. I don't know if I'll ever play it against people that at any event. Might play with a couple buddies, but
I'm actually pretty excited myself. I've got another army showing up here soon.
Yeah, I seen that you put Mechanicum on a list.
Yeah, so last summer I put in, before I got better at painting, I put in a commission to get a Mechanicum army done. And they're supposedly going to be done. There's not really any kind of a deadline on them, but they're supposedly going to be done by the end of next month. So, and
nice.
It's a Legio Cybernetica list with a Knight Atropos and a Knight Styrex. Yeah, so that's going to be fun. That's going to be fun.
You post pictures?
Yeah, once I get them. Yep. I'm just doing this. Nice. I'm just doing the standard red and black and metal, the Mars scheme, and the Knights are going to be House Tanaris, so they match my Knights that I already have, my 40K Knights. But yeah, I'm looking forward to using that. It's been a while.
Mechanicum's popular. I mean, it kind of cracks me up. Let's say how many. Let's see, we had 3 Mechanicum lists.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you had 2 normal Mechanicum, 1 dark Mechanicum, and then we had a couple guys with a couple Mechanicum allies. So
have you seen?
They're cool models. I can't blame anybody. It's no different than they're tough, but they're not unkillable. But they are cool ass models.
Yeah, and for me, like I know a lot of people like playing Ordo Reductor. I really don't have any affinity to it because for me, I like Mechanicum for just really big, slow, tough robots. So I'm just sticking with Cybernetica. That's just me. I want big robots. I just want robots. If I want a fast tank army or whatever, I'll do White Scars or Blood Angels or something. Like I just want big robots.
I'm waiting to see the Skitarii armies that are coming out. since the rules were released.
Oh, the Titan
Could
Guard.
No, the little dudes.
Yeah, the Titan Guard, the Peltas and stuff.
Oh yes. I'm sorry. Huh.
Yeah.
You cut out a little bit.
No, it's
it's cool.
It's gonna be cool here soon. It's gonna be cool to see all these armies come up. We got 2 guys building Custode armies right now. I'm actually kind of terrified, but
don't be. They're not that bad. With the original rules were horrible. Not horrible isn't thought out. It's just horrible going up against them.
Yeah.
It was that 3++ rerollables was rough. But honestly, I was actually kind of surprised not to see any at the event yesterday.
Well,
come to think of it, there are no sisters, no custodes. I think I'm the only one actually doing anything. So that's how I got so many sisters so fast. But
well, I know we're gonna have. I think we're gonna have a Custodes player this Saturday, but he also is gonna play. He's open to playing Death Guard or Custodes based on what our showing up is. Because I'm gonna bring my Raven Guard, and if we're short on traders, then I'll just revert over. I'm not gonna have my Thousand Sons done in time, so I'll just call them, Trader Raven Guard or something. It'll work. But he said if they're short on loyalists, that he'll bring us Custodes. So that'll be cool to see that. He doesn't have any of the tanks. He's all foot slogging, but apparently he played at the other Heresy event out at MJ's, and he brought the sword and board Dreadnought, and he said that thing just dominated anything I got close to. Like,
I could see that.
Well, it has 7 attacks or strength 10 with shred on the charge.
Yeah, it's brutal. It's like, I choose life.
Yeah, right. But
yeah, that's a rough army. It really is. I don't like facing custodes.
Honestly, if it was my Raven Guard fighting against them, I don't think I'd have a hard time, because my Raven Guard always have that, like, they're based around 2 turns of having a lot of high yield, high strength, low AP shooting.
Yeah.
So I feel like I could outmaneuver them and get them in the spot that I want them to be in. But I think my Salamanders and Thousand Sons are gonna have a very hard time. Personally,
I think your Salamanders will be just fine. They're fearless as well.
Well, no, they ignore fear, not fearless. They ignore fear.
Oh, that might.
Yeah, that's
maybe not so much easier for them.
And they don't get to use their initiative and sweep in advance. So if I get locked in combat and get my ass kicked, then I'm gone. Like, the Custodes have got me. So I'm really just kind of centered on Fire Drakes, but the fact that the Salamanders are all like mid to short range shooting means that I'm going to be getting charged by Custodes every time I face them with them, and they're not going to stand up very long to them. I'm not saying that all is lost. It's just going to be a new dynamic that I got to work with.
No, I'm just trying to think. It's like I said, the board and swords are the ones I dealt with the hardest time with. The spear guys went down just fine. I'm not. It is what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think.
But I'm curious. I actually would like to face a Thousand Sons army. Somebody. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not afraid of them. I want to try with a loyal legion. I'm kind of fed up with going against loyalists versus loyalists and trader versus trader. The legions aren't set up to fight the same side.
Yeah.
It's miserable. It's like, just have me a bolter and shoot myself in the head, because that's what you're doing. You're playing basically a mirror image of your own army, and it's like,
well, because the game's based on being thematic, you can make it work, but it's not as enjoyable as if you're actually fighting against a trader army, because they have a lot of things that counter what the loyalists can do, and vice versa.
Yeah. Although I will say it's funny. We had a loyalist Death Guard player. He's running the Crimson. No, what do they call themselves? The ones before the Earth ones. Terra.
The Dusk Raiders.
Yeah. So he has an actual Dusk Raiders army, and he was playing Zomortalis with it. So I thought that was funny, because it's like he's running around Death Shroud, and I'm like, okay, they did have him, whatever. No Mortarion, no named characters of anything, and he's just getting owned, and I'm like, well, now you're knowing why they're not any loyalists in Death Guard.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, man. It's funny. It's not going so good for you, but
yeah,
it was fun to watch. But it's like I don't understand. Then again, have you ran into any Shattered Legions?
honestly, I haven't. I haven't at all.
Yeah. I'm thinking the Portland guys have. I need to talk to them about that because they are not allowing any Shattered Legion lists in any of their events. And I'm like, I leave it open. I tell everybody they can bring whatever the rules allow. And I haven't had anything crazy. I haven't even seen a Night Household show up yet. And I've had a couple emails and questions of it. Can I bring them? I'm like, yeah, bring them. I don't care. I'm not worried.
Yeah, you know, and I've also, on that note too, I've never seen a Black Shields army either.
We've had a few. Well, the same guy that played the Duskin Raiders.
Yep.
He played Black. He has a Black Shield list as well. I mean, he does okay, but it's like nothing scary. I mean, if you're going up against an actual person who knows how to play their Legion, Black Shields are going to get owned.
Yeah. Well,
so
I will say this as far as Black Shield goes. I've got enough Legions to do it, and I've played around with lists to do it, but I found that the tax that you have to do to get your characters and stuff in to get your Legion done right, that if you want to do your crazy OP combination, it usually turns into just a 2 or 3 unit gimmick that you hope will work out the way you want it to, and that's all you're banking on. Yeah, it's not as appealing as what it may seem like on paper. So that's my 2 cents in it, anyways. Why I haven't even tried it, and I haven't seen anybody doing it.
Yeah, nearby. I just was like, I was hoping if anybody else had, if anybody's listening that has dealt with Shattered Legions, shoot us a text or an email on Northwest 30K, Boxcast, or even on our group pages or whatever. Just message Rob or I privately. I don't care. Tell us your experience on it. I'm curious.
Yeah.
So.
Absolutely.
I haven't even anybody's never. They talk about doing them, but I've never actually seen them. So it's like, okay, I don't know why they're scary. I'm curious, but I'd love to go up against one to find out how scary they are. But again, I guess too, we play larger games.
Mm-hmm.
We're 3,000 points, so I think maybe lower point games are a lot scarier. I don't know. But at 3,000 points, you've got a lot of options. So
I can tell you this, now thinking about it, I guess I'll make a Shattered Legions list for artists. Because if I'm going to be the rotating chair, having a Shattered Legion be confused on what side they are on would kind of make the most sense. Really.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I could do it with what I've got. I just like, it's like what, I guess I could do my Ultramarines and an Imperial Fist and toss a few Night Lords in there just to throw people off. But
really? And just call it Pharos?
Call it, we got lost and turned left at Albuquerque.
Yeah. We were in the bathroom for 5 minutes. What happened?
Right.
That's funny. Well, I think on that.
That's weird.
Well, I'll bring a Shattered Legions list to artists, and then if I get to play any games with it, if we have an odd chair, just so no one has to do a buy, I'll report back on what I think of it. I mean, it'll be probably Raven Guard and Salamanders of some combination, so we'll see how it turns out.
Oh, that's fine. I'm curious more than anything.
Yeah.
How it pans out. Because, I mean, in our meta, you and I have faced enough nights. Night households don't scare us. Yeah, that big-ass one that's come out. I'm curious to see what that's going to do to people on the table. But
the full Pharaon?
just like everything else.
That thing's going to be a jerk.
Huh?
I said that thing's just going to be a jerk.
Yeah, it can be. I mean, I would die badly. I'm not going to lie there. But there's a lot of guys out there that take it down pretty quick.
Yeah. Well, we'll see.
Yeah.
I mean, I did think if it was funny because I was thinking about how I would deal with Knights with my Raven Guard. And I do think it'd be kind of funny to like take a bunch of Death Storms and surround them with Death Storm pods.
That would be hilarious.
Just boxing them with Death Storm.
You can't go nowhere.
Yeah, you got
kill it.
You got to charge it one at a time to get your base out of there. And you can't shoot at it with your big blast because they'll just scatter back onto you. You'll have to target yourself, and that won't work. But I'm going to pummel you with D3 missile shots on each door that's facing you.
Yep. Make it to where 2 doors can get you.
Yep.
That would be hilarious.
Just box them in. Yeah. Well, I think on that note, I think we'll go ahead and call it. Maybe, yeah. Something.
Sure. I know if you guys have been following us on Facebook, so I've been getting a huge shout out to Paul Sowell for Heroic Knights for hosting yesterday. The terrain tables looked amazing. The atmosphere was epic. Everybody had a lot of fun there. It was so relaxed. And he was playing as well. His son was running the cash register. It was. I will say, Heroic Knights, well done. Looking forward to playing games against most at the end of April. And I've been getting a date pinned down in June for MOB games in Lake Stevens. So I just thank you guys for supporting the events that we run. Yesterday was awesome. I honestly stress out so much before these stupid things. It's hilarious. My wife's like, yeah, I'm up till 2 a.m, then I'm up at 6, just making sure everything's right. I think I passed out at like 8:30 on Friday night, got up at 5 and got everything done. It was chill. And for the first time ever, I want to say thanks to all you guys for making it easier on me. So.
And thank you for not getting them too worn out so we could record.
Yeah, right. I'm tired today. I ain't gonna lie. But it was fun. I enjoyed the game I got to play. Usually, when you get me halfway through a day and I need to fill in for somebody, I become kind of an asshole. I'm tired. I don't want to do it. Yesterday was an exception. And I had a lot of fun. Got to meet a lot of nice people. Congratulations to Charles and Alex for Players' Choice Awards. We gave Greg Byrne donated 2 event models for door prizes. We were able to give 3 $50 gift cards out and those 2 models for door prizes. It was great.
That's
and
awesome.
So it was, like I said, I just want to say thank you to the community and supporting us. So
absolutely.
That's on that note for me. That's all I can say. I'm impressed. I will say, if you don't follow us on Facebook and you're interested in what the campaign's going to be all about, at some point I'll read it out. Maybe the next one. I wrote out a whole short story. It's like only a page long. It's on Northwest 30K, the event page, for the event. Tides of the Corrupt. It's basically just a prequel to why the planet is the way it is. So
awesome.
It's gonna be. So Rob, take a look at it. Maybe shoot me a message. Tell me what you think. I just did it this afternoon, so I don't expect too much information right off the bat from people.
Absolutely, and we heard it here first, guys. Dave's gonna hold story time on the next podcast.
Yes,
you got to work on your narrative
voice. Yeah, that was something I did post in the event. Thanks for reminding me, Rob. Now you gotta get me going down that one. So for the Tides of the Corrupted, my deal is, and I have told them, let's see if we can bring it up real quick, is that if you have a Praetor and you're not running a named character that's in the book, or your Primarch, or I don't care if you run your Primarch, but if you have a Praetor that you're running, you come up with your own name and you give me a short story about who he is or her. I don't care how far out you go. Chances you may actually hear it on the podcast. I will be reading these out. These will be going toward the campaign. I've seen a couple people post them on Northwest 30K Legions United. I want to say thank you for doing that, but unfortunately they get lost in all the other stuff. So I need those actually sent to me at northwest30k@gmail.com. I will actually try to get a hold of a couple people.
And
but that'll give points to your side for the campaign at the end of the year. So how the campaign's working, we're doing resource points, not victory points. You can win every game, but if you don't actually complete any secondary objectives, you haven't helped your side at all. So just understand that.
So kind of like the Victory is Vengeance campaign that they did in Book 6.
Yeah.
Okay. Right on.
So yeah, and that's a fun part of it. Boy, as far as that goes, that's basically it.
Well,
I will be involving Zone Mortalis. I highly recommend if you guys are running any events. I know you, Rob, you are. But run some Zone Mortalis in your guys' events. It will definitely bring in some players. I was shocked on how many people were lining up at the door to play that. So, and it's fun and fast.
Yes, and it also brings a whole new dynamic you're not used to. That's the other thing I like about it.
Yeah.
Right on. Well,
it's fun. Okay, I'll shut up now.
Yeah, silence.
So, Rob,
knock it off.
Yeah, right.
I still gotta eat dinner, you jerk.
That's
Stop.
right. Take it all. So anyway, on that note, I wanted to say thank you guys from Seattle area for supporting the Northwest 30K events.
Yep, and I'll also like to say too.
Rob, it's yours.
Yep, and I'll also follow that up with like to thank Tier 1 and MJs for supporting us up here for our Heresy events in Alaska. And if anyone is going to be in Alaska next Saturday, April 1st, no, this is not a joke. This is not an April Fool's joke. Come by at Tier 1 Cards and Games in Anchorage off South Diamond Boulevard. We'll be starting at 11 for day 1 of the Artist Trident campaign.
Nice. We're going to see pictures for that flooding as well.
Of course. Of course you will. So with that, I'm going to go eat because I'm fat.
Excellent. Well, have a good
You too, man.
Talk to you all later, guys.
Later, guys. Everybody, this is Rob.
And this is Dave.
A little prolonged there, dude.
Quite. Yeah, I know, right? I actually did it right off the bat when I heard you.
I'm not.
Start over?
No. No. Whatever. Do you want?
You.
God dang it. Yeah.